So my next question comes from another fellow YouTuber, set for adventures. That's Simon. Hi Simon. Now, I will be giving Simon a proper shout out in due course, so do watch out for that, but I will be leaving a link to his channel in the description below this video anyway. So, Simon has said, "Hi Patrick, great idea for your 30th anniversary." His question is, what caused or reason for the format change from the early screenplays based around walking to the current 20-minute vlog style films? All the best, Simon. Well, that was mainly due to my moving to Derbyshire in 2003. So it meant that I was now living a long way from my friends who were involved in those early films. Shortly after I moved to Derbyshire, camcorders were then being built with LCD screens, so it meant that I could see myself in the screen without actually needing a cameraman to film me. So in 2005, I actually bought myself a camcorder with an LCD screen. So I decided to go out and try as an experiment to make a film totally by myself. And that happened when I went on a trip to Pembrokeshire. And that's film number 10, Perspectives in Pembrokeshire. That was the start of the transition, because that was the first film I started to make in the vlog style, if you like. So I decided that that format seemed to work. So later that same year, I made a few more films on my own. Now, of course, going back to when I first started making films, YouTube wasn't around. So all the films were made purely for my own enjoyment, and also for the people that were involved in making them too. So I never for one moment thought that I'd ever end up sharing them with everybody else to see. So, of course, once YouTube was there, I started sharing my films. So I slowly developed my filmmaking, knowing that they would now be going onto YouTube for the public to see. So, if you look at my documentaries and behind the scenes information playlist again, there's a video there called Reflecting Back on 25 Years. Now that was actually a film I made during 2018, which was the 25th anniversary of the Solitaire Ambler. In a way that's a long trailer, but I do talk about how my filming started and how it developed, so if you've not seen it, it's worth checking that out. Thanks for your question, Simon. Next question is from Hugh Sleggs. Hi Hugh, I've given you a shout out before now, one of my films. He says, tell us about the physical impact of extended walking. I cycle. I'm often impeded by injury, particularly muscular. I wondered, after years of walking, how you avoid wear and tear. I'm not suggesting you're ready for hip replacement or such. Well, to be perfectly honest with you, Hugh, I don't avoid wear and tear. Although I still get out filming my walks, I am absolutely knackered by the end of the day. Well, that's due to the filming process on top of just doing the walk. But I am getting more and more aches and pains in my older age, but touch wood, it doesn't stop me getting out walking. So anyway, thanks for your question, Hugh. Next question comes from Kelly Shaw. Hi Kelly. Now Kelly says, hi Patrick, if money was no object, is there any place you have really wanted to do a walk but have not been able to as yet? Cheers. Well, yeah, if money was no object, lots of places really. I'd love to do more walks in Wales. I'd love to do more in Scotland actually. I've never done any filming in Scotland as yet, but I've been to Scotland several times before now, and there's so much of Scotland I've yet to see. And I guess I'd love to do walking abroad as well. I'm not particularly bothered about going abroad again, I've said this before now, but if I had the chance, I'd love to go to Italy, Austria, Switzerland, and do some walking around there. Those sort of places appeal to me really, but I think it's not just if money was no object, it's also time as well really. But yeah, I think mainly more time in Wales and more time in Scotland. So thanks Kelly for your question. Next question comes from Louis Phillips. Hi Louis. Now Louis was actually the person who suggested I do this Q&A, so thanks for that Louis. So Louis says, Patrick, thank you for listening to my suggestion of a Q&A. Would you ever do a scripted film again, similar to your very early films? Well, to be totally honest with you Louis, Probably not, but who knows. The closest thing to doing a scripted film in more recent years was back in 2018, which was the 25th anniversary of The Solitary Rambler. I made a film called Usk and Wentwood, which ended up being the 100th film, and I also made it my 25th anniversary special. Now, it wasn't scripted as such, but some of what I spoke about in that film was slightly fictionalised. Now, the reason for that was because I shot it in a place called Wentwood in Monmouthshire, and that was one of the main locations I featured in my very first film back in 1993. So I wanted to link this film to that pilot episode. I don't think I'd do a scripted film again though, but if I was doing another anniversary special perhaps, it would be nice to have some of my old friends appear in some capacity, the ones that were part of my earliest films. But when you look back over the 30 years of my filmmaking, I only actually did 9 scripted films within a 9-year period. But over the past 10 years, I've actually made over 200 films in my current format. So I think it might be quite jarring to those that are used to my current format. Anyway, thanks Louis for your question. My next question comes from another fellow YouTuber, Troopers Travels the Raw Marsh 4457. That's Darren. Hi Darren, how you doing? Now, I have given Darren's channel a shout out before now, so again, I'll leave the link to his channel below, so do check it out. Now, Darren's question is, what do you do in your job, Patrick? Always wondered. Well, this is something that's a bit tricky, really. It's not that I can't say, I'd just rather not say. The thing is, I have to be very careful what I talk about, bearing in mind that I'm talking about stuff in my films that will end up being published on YouTube for the public to see. So I spoke about this in one of my films earlier this year actually. That was film number 198, the one that I made around Millthorpe and Shillitoe Wood. What I am prepared to say is that I deal with data collection. I collect data, process data, report on data. I work Monday to Friday, normally 8 AM to 5 PM. During an average week, I'm office based for 3 days, and then the other 2 days I travel all over Derbyshire. I end up working in a different area of the county each day I go out. So one day I might spend in South Derbyshire, so that's around places like Swadlincote, Swarkston, Ticknell, Repton. Another day I might go to Erewash and spend time around places like Ilkeston and Long Eaton. And then another day I'll go somewhere in the Peak District. So yeah, I enjoy what I do. So I've said this before, if I could give work up tomorrow I would do, but as I say, I could be doing worse jobs, that's the way I look at it. So thanks Darren for your question. The next question is from a fellow YouTuber, Why Explorer. That's Mark. Hi Mark, how you doing? Now, Mark's channel is probably the one I've been following for the longest. And I have to say it's another one that I would consider a favourite channel. I have given Mark's Why Explorer channel a shout out before now. Firstly, in my Hereford video that I made in 2018, and secondly in my Sheldon and Magpie Mine video which I made in 2021. So, but again, the link to his channel will be in the description below this video. Anyway, Mark says, I have a simple question, Patrick, which I've often asked in relation to your good self, and that is, what's your system for making the videos? How do you make so many? Is it a case of just being motivated? Well, have a great weekend, Mark. Well, Mark, that's a very good question, because, to be honest with you, I have no idea. My system has varied, really, from year to year. A lot of it depends on how I feel, really, and also it depends on what other things are happening in my life. 2023, this year, for whatever reason, I have been more motivated than ever for making films. I just seem to have been on a real roll for filmmaking and enjoying myself. So it's incredible really when I think how busy I am, particularly when I've got a full-time job. So I only get the chance to go out filming on a weekend, or on a day when I take leave from work. And of course the editing, that's confined to evenings after I've finished work. But I do other things in my spare time too. So to be honest, I'm absolutely amazed myself as to how much I've done this year. I think another reason I've been just getting on with my filmmaking this year is because I never know what tomorrow's going to bring. So I've just been trying to get out when I can. For example, last year I lost about 3 months worth of filming, and that was due to my house move at the time. But the way I look at it, even if I don't get round to editing the films for a long time, at least if I get out and get the footage in the can, so to speak, the films are always there to be edited at any time when I can. But yeah, so I hope that answers your question really, Mark. Thanks for your question. Next question is from Lee Dixon. Hi Lee. Now Lee asks, what's your top 10 places you've been? Well, that's actually quite a tricky one, to be honest with you, Lee. There were a few places that sprang to mind straight away, but to think of 10 places, that was quite hard actually. Anyway, I have thought about it and I've made a list of 10 here now. So, of course, the Peak District would be the obvious place, but I won't include it in this top 10 because I've been living here for 21 years now, so I'll just call it an honourable mention. But, you know, if it was a place that I was visiting rather than living, I probably would include it in my top 10. So, number 1, the Wye Valley and Forest of Dean. Has always been my favourite place, always will be. Number 2, Pembrokeshire. If you watch my Perspectives in Pembrokeshire video, film number 10, I go into more detail there, but it is one of the longer videos before I developed into my current format of filmmaking. Number 3, the Ellen Valley, or what I used to call the Elan Valley. That's one of my favourite places in mid Wales. So again, I made another video that's called Enchantment of Elan, film number 12. Number 4, the Malvern Hills. Well, back in 2019 I made a series of 6 films in the Malvern Hills, and they're actually films I'm very proud of, but it is a beautiful area despite being small. I love it there. Number 5, the Lake District. Well, every time I've been to the Lake District it's always blown me away. It's one of those places that I just think is just fantastic. I don't go there as often as I'd like, but it's wonderful. Number 6, Yorkshire Dales. Again, another fantastic place, and I'd like to go there more if I could. Number 7, the South Pennines. It's not an area I'm that familiar with, but it's not too far away from me really. It's the area between the Peak District and the Yorkshire Dales. But I don't go there as often as I'd like again because it is a little bit further away. But what I have seen of it, again, it's a beautiful place. Number 8, Northumberland National Park. Well, I've only ever been there once, and that was over 30 years ago. That was before I was filmmaking. But I went there for a week's holiday when I was backpacking, and I got a train to Hexham and did a tour from Hexham and did places like Kielder Forest and bits of Hadrian's Wall and got a train back. And I just thought it was wonderful. And the thing that I really remember about Northumberland National Park is the fact that I didn't meet a soul nearly the whole week I was there. It wasn't until I was walking along a bit of Hadrian's Wall that I actually started to see people. But yeah, another beautiful area I remember, and I'd like to go back there if I could. Number 9, Scotland. I know that's broader really because there are so many places in Scotland, but a place that springs to mind in Scotland straight away is Pitlochry. I just loved Pitlochry when I went there. Been there a few times now. And number 10, Cornwall. Well, Cornwall, I used to go there a lot when I was living down south. I've not been there for over 20 years now because it's much further away for me to travel now, but it's very similar to Pembrokeshire in a way, but it's busier than Pembrokeshire really. But again, it is a beautiful area, so yeah, number 10, Cornwall. Thanks for your question. Next question is from Mark Foster. Hi Mark. Mark says, I've watched pretty much from the beginning and was just curious if you still keep in touch with your friends you made the early videos with. Well, yes, I do keep in touch with them, but not as often as I'd like, sadly. It's one of those things I remember saying right at the very beginning when I moved to Derbyshire. I will keep in touch and I'll come and see you when I can. And I did. and they've been up here to see me a few times. You know, Nigel, Jenny, Michael, Martin, Scott, they've been up several times, but over the course of time it sort of gets less and less because, you know, we've all got busy lives, and again, Bristol and Derbyshire, there's a long distance between us, so it's all down to time and cost again, sadly, so it never happens as often as we'd like, really. Obviously we lost Richard in 2003, but I talk about that in my documentary video reflecting back on 25 years. Yeah, it's we do compromise, I suppose, if you like. In recent times we've met up once or twice a year. We sort of meet in Birmingham because it's sort of halfway between us, really. It takes me an hour to drive there. I think it takes them about an hour and a half from Bristol to get to Birmingham. But no, it's we do see each other when we can, and we enjoy meeting up, and it's always, whenever I see them, it's like I've never been away from them, really, and it's always good to catch up with them. So yeah, I do see them when I can, just sadly not as often as I'd like, really. Thanks for your question. Okay, the next question comes from Louise Smith. Hi Lou. Now Lou asks, how do you relax? I mean, I know you make videos and walking, I know that's time consuming. What's your favourite drink and food? Well, drink and food, that's a real hobby of mine. As I say, I like my real ale, as I said earlier, but I don't drink a lot, as I say, once a week if that. But soft drinks, I do drink a lot of soft drinks with food. I drink a lot of fruit juice, really. But food, I love Indian, I love curries, I love Chinese, I love good old Sunday roasts, really. So when I'm cooking for myself, it's really, I make things like, I do make curries, because I can make it in like a big pot and make a whole load for myself, and it just makes it easy for myself to eat several meals during the week. I do that with things like stews and casseroles. So yeah, I like good old traditional comfort food, really. But yeah, I think probably roast dinners are my favourite. Thanks for your question, Lou. Next question comes from Ruth Duarte. Hi Ruth. Now Ruth says, happy 30th anniversary. Have you been to the Forest of Dean lately? I recall that being one of your favourite places and wondered how often you get an opportunity to visit. Have a lovely weekend. Well, I've not been back since I went filming there in 2018. Again, it's down to that old thing of time and cost, unfortunately. If time and cost were no object, again, I'd go there as often as I could, really, but there you go. But no, I've not been back since 2018. Thanks, Ruth, for your question. Next question is from Slim Rock Wrestlers. That's Joseph. Hi, Joseph. Whilst I'm here, I'd just like to say hello to your daughter Emmy, your wife Abby, and your son Roman. So, Joseph asks, what's your favourite movies? Well, I do enjoy a good film. Favourite films that spring to mind have got to be the Godfather films. I love Godfather and Godfather Part 2. They are such quality films. Whenever I watch them, I never get tired of them. Absolutely superb, faultless. I also enjoy the Sergio Leone spaghetti westerns. I love the Dollars trilogy, as they call it, you know, which includes The Good, Bad and the Ugly. But I think my favourite of the spaghetti westerns would be Once Upon a Time in the West. That's a fantastic film, absolutely wonderful stuff. I love the Dirty Harry films. I also like the James Bond films, particularly the early ones with Sean Connery. So that would be like From Russia with Love, Goldfinger. Particularly From Russia with Love, I think, is a classic film in its own right. And I also love On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Again, a wonderful film. And I think George Lazenby was very underrated. I like a few horror films as well. So The Omen is probably my favourite horror film. The original Omen film from 1976. And I also like the Alien films, particularly the first two. That's Alien and Aliens. So I like a bit of sci-fi horror. Lots really, but they're the ones that spring to mind. So thanks, Joseph, for your question.